So when we talk about competitive advantage, it is actually defined as the factors that allow a business to have an edge over its rivals. So when we talk about competitive advantage, it is actually consists of a unique set of values or qualities that your company, or if you're starting a company, has that helps to set you apart from similar businesses within the same industry. So it is more on the uniqueness and it's more on the factors na makita sa inyong business, or if you are starting a if you're starting a business, or if you're starting a company. So from the word itself, competitive advantage, you have actually an advantage to your competitors because you have these factors, certain factors or uniqueness. So for example, having the highest quality product or having the lowest price are two different competitive advantages. So we have actually different types or examples of competitive advantage. So one of these are you have some products may do have the highest quality to other products, or some products may do have the lowest price compared to other products. So your competitive advantage is why many customers will choose your product or service over those of your competitors. So without a competitive advantage, customers won't have a good reasons to stay loyal to your company, which is why it is so important to define what competitive advantage is. And it is not only how you are going to survive long term as a business, but it is also your best chance at positioning yourself as a market leader within your industry. Other definition of competitive advantage is it is done by consistently generating returns that are above average for the business industry. So it is not enough just to have an advantage over your competitors. You have to keep it over time actually for this one. So it must be a sustainable competitive advantage. So for competitive advantage, we do have two types. So the first type is what we call the comparative advantage. So when we say comparative advantage, this is the ability to produce a product or service at a lower cost than the competitors. So this is known as the cost advantage, and it gives the firm the ability to sell its goods or services at a lower price than its competition, or to generate a larger margin on sales. So talking of comparative advantage, let's have an example of um, describing comparative advantage. So this is actually an example for a comparative advantage. So when we talk about comparative advantage, it is an economist's ability to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partners. So when we say opportunity cost, it represents the potential benefits an individual, investor, or business misses out on when choosing one alternative over another. So just an example for comparative advantage is that we consider two countries, say the United States and the United Kingdom, that use inputs such as labor to produce two different goods. So these two different goods are cloth and wine. So in the United Kingdom, in a 1 hour of labor can produce either 20 wines or 10 clothes. Clothes rather, not clothes. 10 clothes. And in the United States, 1 hour of labor can produce either uh, 30 wines or 30 cloths. So you are required to determine how should each country make optimize the use of labor that is by producing the good in which they have a comparative advantage. So meaning, identify nato asa mas unsa na klaseng product ang mas advantage sa ilaha for the United Kingdom and United States. Kung ang United Kingdom ba is mas advantage sa iyaha ang mag-produce lang og wine or ang cloth lang. The same with the United States, kung advantage ba sa iyaha ang mag-produce lang og wine or the cloth. So, when we actually analyze the kanang given labor of each country, one can note that the United States is having an absolute advantage in either producing wine or cloth when compared with the United Kingdom. Kaya di ba makita ninyo dire, sa United States, isa ka oras of labor, makaproduce sila either 30 wines or 30 cloths compare with the United Kingdom na 20 wines or 10 cloths. But with but from this, one can conclude that the United States has an absolute advantage. But it doesn't mean na United States would be the kanang advantage sa iyaha, both the wine and cloth. So that's why we need to identify asa ang mas advantage for each of the country. So the first thing that we actually do is we need to identify the opportunity cost. So this is actually a basic math when we do comparative advantage. So for the United Kingdom, so for UK, we will determine unsang iyang opportunity cost for producing one wine and its opportunity cost of producing one cloth. Okay? So when we consider opportunity cost, kailangan niya i-sacrifice ang cost sa isa ka product niyang gibuhat. So most likely it is a basic math when we do opportunity cost. So for opportunity cost, of one wine, so identify nato na siya, and also the opportunity cost of one cloth. So when we actually identify the opportunity cost, especially for one wine, i-sacrifice nato ang cost na gibuhat nagibuhat nila for 10 cloths. Okay, ang gingon man diri, they produce for 1 hour of labor, they produce 10 cloths. So for that, we just only divide 10 cloths over the 20 wine. So that would be 0.5 unit or 1/2 unit of cloth ang ilahang opportunity cost of one wine. So 1/2 unit gibali ang cost 1/2 sa cloth ang ilahang ang opportunity cost if they will produce one wine. And kung opportunity cost of one cloth, baliktaron lang nato ang 10 over 20, so that would be 20 over 10. So that would be 2 units of wine ang ilang opportunity cost of producing one cloth. So murag og kung i-term nato og prices or ang cost, ibalik we say um 2 pesos of wine ang ilahang ma-cost pag-produce og one cloth. So we will compare this with the United States. The same atong buhaton with the US. So for the United States, opportunity cost of one wine and oppor cost of one cloth. So as you see here, both wine and cloth, especially in 1 hour of labor, can produce 30. So 30 each for wine and for cloth. So opportunity cost of producing one wine and one cloth kay the same lang, which is 1, kay 30 over 30, that is 1 unit of cloth. And the same with the opportunity cost of one cloth, 1 unit of wine. So how can we actually identify the comparative advantage after we identify the opportunity cost sa products na giproduce of each country? So like what I mentioned kanina, comparative advantage is an economy's ability to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partners. So when we say for comparative advantage, ang opportunity cost nato must be the lower value when we compare that with the other when say the other country, say the United States. So for the wine, if you compare the opportunity cost of wine for UK and US, ang the lower value for these two is for the UK. A 0.5 unit of cloth man, meaning less ang iyahang magasto pag-produce og isa ka wine if masacrifice ang pag-produce og cloth. Kay as you can see here, that is 0.5 unit of cloth lang, 1/2 lang of cloth ang iyahang magasto. And kung sa opportunity cost of one cloth, ang the lower value here is for the US, which is 1 unit of wine. So if we sacrifice the production of wine, so the opportunity cost of one cloth for US will base from 1 unit of wine mismo. So therefore, we can see that the opportunity cost of producing one cloth in the United States is less than the United Kingdom, and the opportunity cost of producing one wine in the United Kingdom is less than the United States. Hence, from this, we can conclude that the United States has a comparative advantage in producing cloth, and the United Kingdom has a comparative advantage in producing wine. So, para at least mas ma-advantage sa ilaha ang isa ka product, ang US has an advantage in producing cloth, and the United Kingdom has an advantage in producing wine. So that is how we define or how we identify our comparative advantage. So mura good og kanang kung daghang kay for example a skill. So i compare ni mong skills kung asa ka advantage. Say imong skills is kanang baking and so pa yung other skills. Baking and doing kanang IT sa mga IT something. So inganay mo mga skills and then you determine ang imuhang advantage kung asa ka maka-earn og more money. So that is actually ang kanina klase ng mga topic manggod is it is actually for the economics na side. So that's why it's very important that you, if you start up a business or a company, you need to identify also your comparative advantage. So the other type of competitive advantage is what we call the differential advantage. So this is when the products or services offered when the products or services offered differ from the competitors and are perceived as better by customers. So this is the deliver values that exceed those of competitive offerings. So what are some examples of differential advantage? So here are some examples. So since we're talking about values, these are faster and or more thorough customer service. So it's very important actually sa uban customer ang service. More accessible products of services, more expertise, nicer facility, friendlier staff, and more pleasant purchase experience. So just a concrete example, consider an airline. If customers are asked to rank safety, ticket price, and onboard service in terms of importance while flying, most customers, or I think all of us, most would rank safety at the top. Eh di ba, nagsakay gud ta og kaning klaseng transportation. So, safety jud ang pinaka task jud. Kailangan ang value sa safety ang mas is the most important. So mo na we will rank safety at the top. But because most airlines, if we consider most airlines are assumed to be equally safe and ticket prices are relatively similar, say PAL and Cebu Pacific, customers tend to look at onboard services. So unsay kasi mga onboard services, which is to differentiate between airline options. So kaning mga onboard services are, just an example, these are free snacks, in-air Wi-Fi, built-in TV screens, and other perks come into play. So money ang if ever kay we assume na equal jud tanan mga airlines na safety, na safe sila, and the ticket prices are relatively similar. Okay, so ang atong i-tend to look at our onboard services. So ako before, when I compare the airlines, I recommend PAL. Kahit ang PAL is somewhat or somehow dili pud ingana ka cheap ang iyahang ticket, pero at some point man good na mag similar murag seasonal in a certain season rather, magka the same sila og ticket prices with the other competitors like the Cebu Pacific. So ang nag-stand out lang sa PAL is they do have free snacks. Mao jud ako ma-remember every time I kanang kung magsakay ko og kanang sapal, they do have like this free snacks jud mismo. Especially kung international flights, um, they do have like a meal compare with other airlines. I don't know with other airlines, pero ang kung domestic flights man good, ako napansin is walay snacks sa uban compare sa PAL. Kahit ang PAL, ang gihatag nila is kanang um, bread and a coffee. So that is actually free snacks. And ang mapansin po na ako sa PAL pod is they do have like built-in TV screen sa kanang sa likod sa chair. So every time you have a task na flight, pwede ka makagamit sa ilahang murag touchscreen. You can play, you can watch movies, and etc. So that is what we call differential advantage. That is more on the values that will set apart with the other competitors. Okay, so these are the two types of competitive advantage. So to achieve competitive advantage, the firm implements a value creating strategy that is not simultaneously being implemented by any current or potential competitors. And other firms are not able to duplicate the benefits of the strategy. So that is 70% of all new products can be duplicated within 1 year, and 60 to 90% of process improvement or learning eventually diffuses to competitors. So the more sustainable the competitive advantage, the more difficult it is for competitors to neutralize the advantage. And when we talk about strategies, we do have these basic types of these um, types of strategies, these generic strategies. We have cost leadership, um, differentiation, and focus. So these three generic strategies are combination of the basic types of competitive advantage. Those are the comparative and the differential advantage, plus the activities for which the company seeks to achieve them. So the first is the cost leadership. So this is focus on offering buyers competitively low cost without sacrificing quality and service, and it's simplified by managerial control of expenditures and cost minimization in the aspects of a firm's organization. So the objective is to become the lowest cost producer and achieved through large-scale production where companies can exploit economies of scale, and company would be able to reap profits due to its significant cost advantage over its competitors. So for um, differentiation or this differentiated firm strategy, it is its objective is of establishing an industry-wide customer base that views the provider's product or service as superior, and it is done by delivering high-quality products or services to customers and innovating products or services, and company would then be able to set a premium price on its products or services. And lastly is focus strategy. The company concentrates on a particular group of customers, geographic markets, or product line segment, and it is done by creating products or services that can cater to these customers. So some variants of focus strategy are cost focus. So this is about lowest cost product, lowest cost producer in a narrow market segment, and differentiation focus, which is um, talks about the differentiated products or services in a narrow market segment. So each of the generic strategies involves a fundamentally different route to competitive advantage, combining a choice about the type of competitive advantage sought with the scope of the strategic target in which competitive advantage is to be achieved. So some examples here are so cost leadership. We have, I know you are very familiar with these two companies, Jollibee and McDonald's. McDonald's and Jollibee's main competitive advantage relies on a cost leadership strategy. So they utilizes economies of scale and produce products at a low cost, and as a result, offer products at a lower selling price than that of its competitors. Kay, we all know manggod when we buy food from Jollibee and McDonald's, the price of each of the food products are at the low at our the lowest price compare with the other mga food establishments. Sa mga other examples sa mga food establishments like Burger King, Greenwich, unsa pa man. Like something mga unsa pa klase ng mga establishment ni kaning mga fast food chains rather, mga fast food chains. Especially ang Jollibee. Diba, kung i-compare na tong Jollibee with McDonald's, I prefer Jollibee. I don't know why. I think it is the Filipino thing na mas advantage especially if we go in other country, we always find kung naay Jollibee sa isa ka area. And for the differentiation, we have Louis Vuitton, Apple, and Coca-Cola. For the Louis Vuitton, it relies on both differentiation and differentiation focused strategy. So the leader in the luxury market and command premium prices through product uniqueness. And most important aspect of the company's differentiation strategy is exclusivity. Um, I think it's more on the like dili jud nila i-showcase ang ilahang products to all. Murag exclusive sila sa isa ka person that can especially na ang isa ka person is capable of buying this luxurious products of Louis Vuitton. Ay, di ba napapansin ninyo, I don't know if you watch ka ng sa a video na some products sa Louis Vuitton dili nila i-display sa ilahang store. Kaya dili nila i-display sa gawas. They always kana itago nila ang itago nila ang what do you call this kaning we say kaning product na kanang especially isa ra ka buok or kanang what do you call this? Yeah, kanang isa ra ka buok mismo kanang mao jud ang exclusive lang siya rather. So if ever na isa ka customer, special loyal customer, pwede siya mo ato sa isa ka exclusive room to see the product of this luxurious bag. We do have Apple, so it has had an unquestionable impact on the consumer electronics and computer software industry. I think the Apple kanang succeed, I think in the 90s, I don't know what, 90s or happy ta mag 20s. mga 2000s rather, not 20s, 2000s. So, ang sikat bagod sa una kay Microsoft, IBM, Microsoft and IBM. And tungod daning Apple, murag na sila'y murag uniqueness or kanang na sila'y murag a value that will set apart with other competitors. And one of the big, these are, Apple is one of the big five together with Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Microsoft. And it is well known for its innovative products. So iconic, elegant, and minimalist design on all Apple products is one of the first things that makes the brand stand out um, from its competitors. And the operating system that further enhance user experience, bridging the gaps that were unseen or unaddressed by competitors. So prices are significantly higher. We all know that Apple products are way expensive than those of competitors, but it is set with the idea of being proportionate to the level of quality. And last is the Coke. So it remains unique in the market of soft drinks, and it owns the patent of their famous soft drink formula. So no other company is allowed to make their cola using the same formula. Ang Coca-Cola lang mismo. And famously quite protective of it. Kumona, kung if ever na amoy, what do you call this, na produce of product na kalibitaw, maka set apart siya sa other competitors and then lahi jud siya dahil siya'y kanang unique siya sa other products. It's better that you kanang apply of patent or at least dili siya kapihan sa other companies. And special packaging and branding is also one of the uniqueness, one of the values rather of Coca-Cola. And it is carefully positioned advertising. It has a unique and powerful campaigns that help spread their core values and mission and to inspire moments of happiness and refresh the world. So some of this is Share a Coke campaign printed with the 250 most popular names in each country. And it rolled out in 80 countries and managed to generate an incredible global impact. So let's talk about SWOT analysis. I don't know if you're familiar with SWOT analysis. SWOT means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So these four criteria, which are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the strengths and weaknesses are internal to the entrepreneur, and opportunities and threats are external factors. So strengths and weaknesses are internal, and opportunities and threats are external. So it can be applied to your own business or your competitor, and it examines how to use the good and the bad as a competitive advantage. So when we talk about strengths, it is the characteristics of a business which give it advantages over its competitors. When we talk about weaknesses, it is the characteristics of a business which make it disadvantageous relative to competitors, and opportunities are the elements in a company's external environment that allow it to formulate and implement strategies to increase profitability. And lastly is the threats. These are the elements in the external environment that could endanger the integrity and profitability of the business. So just an example of using SWOT analysis is the Coke. Okay? So, kung isa nato ni ang iyang strength is brand value $77,839 billion. It's the world's largest beverage company. It has a strong marketing and advertising. It's the most extensive beverage distribution channel and customer loyalty. Its weakness, um, reliance in carbonated drinks, lack of diversification, negative publicity, high debt level due to acquisitions, brand failures, or many brands with insignificant amount of revenues. Ang iyang opportunities, growth in beverage consumption, increasing bottled water demand, reduced price of production material, increasing demand for healthy food and beverage. And lastly, for threats, changing user demand for competitor drinks, increased competition in carbonated drink industry, local brands in different countries, water scarcity, and legal requirements to disclose negative information on product labels. So this is an example of using SWOT analysis for a certain product, especially here the Coca-Cola. We also have PEST analysis. So when we say PEST analysis, this is more on the political, the economical, and social factors of a product. So that's why we do have PEST mean political, economic, social, and technological factors. So this is actually the tool used to analyze opportunities and threats sections and examines the entire business and which external factors affect businesses. So when we talk about political factor, it measures the degree of political stability and governing intervention in economy. E means economic factor. It These are the policies and factors that have a great impact on businesses and their expansion. For the social factor, we do have a great impact on the buying patterns, behaviors of a nation, which is an important determinant for businesses. And lastly is for the technological factor, it includes factors like level of R&D or research and development, automation, innovation, and other related factors. So this is an example of PEST analysis of Apple. So for political, main manufacturing hubs is in China. Okay, we all know that Apple is an American product. Bad political relations between US and other countries. So that is for the political factors sa Apple. For the economical, lower sales due to high price of products. Kaya we all know that Apple are way expensive, especially the MacBook, the netbook nila mismo, the laptop. Effect of exchange rate between countries and increased labor costs in China. Social it is considered as a status symbol in many societies. We all know kung nakay Apple product, social na kaana. Nga na ang murag thinking sa uban. It is actually the status symbol in other or in many societies. Shifting of people towards more luxurious products. And technology, constant product upgrade. Apple always do like kanang ina-update ang ilahang OS. So, mga they do have constant product upgrade, need to provide more safety solutions, and competitors with similar products and services at lower cost. So this is the PEST analysis of Apple. Okay. So these are the references of the competitive advantage. These are the basis for the discussion, this topic about competitive advantage. So, sa inyo ha, if you start up a business or a company, you need to discover what is your competitive advantage. From the word itself, asa mo mas advantage should mismo when you produce a product.